I got really bad COVID. And then I remember talking with an MD here. He's like, oh, well, nicotine is actually really helpful. So I did a little more research and it's like, sure enough, there's all these doctors that have come out and said nicotine binds to the same receptor sites as COVID does. The LLMs that we have today, they're never going to achieve sentience. All the people who are like, our current LLM models, we just need to give them more compute, more training data. I'm like, the way that LLMs work is complete guessing of what should come next. Maybe like your server at a restaurant, that might be a doctor back in their homeland. My mom and my dad, who were both architects in the Soviet Union, they came here and it's like, well, busboy is like your best chance right now. They're like, well, Andrew Huberman said that this is fine. And you're like, well, how do you know that? You know, he didn't get paid for it, right? Like,
good point. You see that a lot with Athletic Greens. It's like, what the
I
heck?
was hoping none of this was Athletic Greens.
No, this is my brand. We'll get into that in a moment. Thank you for watching. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you've not already. Every like and subscribe is a free way to support us, expand our reach, and help plant new ideas. Just kind of diving into it. So we connected through Facebook.
Yep.
Really happy to have you here. Many synchronicities I feel like have gotten us to this moment. I saw on a Facebook group that we're both members of that you're starting a podcast and that you're looking to be on a podcast. You shared a little bit about yourself. I'm like, great, let's connect. You invited me over to your house. We had a nice tea and snacks and hung out for an hour and a half. That was really sweet. And yeah, that felt really good. Gave me a lot of ideas on where to take this conversation. And you shared a few things that have still stayed with me since then, and I'll share those as we go along. But if you could give us the 30,000 foot view of your path, your journey so far, from born and raised to where we're at today.
Okay, 30,000 foot view would be born in the Soviet Union, and what a shit show that was. You know, imagine,
which year was that?
1984.
Okay, I'm born 86.
Okay, good.
I just turned 40 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Congrats. Congrats on making it to this point.
Thank you. Thank you. I think the 40s are cool.
Oh, it's so good. It's so much better. And you know, the happiness curve, right? Our 20s and 30s is like the shit show of our lives.
Okay.
Generally speaking, right?
Sure.
Most people get so much happier in their 40s and their 50s.
Oh, wow.
You know, you kind of hit this stride. And I remember I dated a tantric massage therapist, which is so weird. But I remember, so she was also older. That was one of the nice things. And she had reminded me that it's like, you know, when you hit your stride in your 40s, it's going to be an amazing thing to see. And I'm like, really? It's like, yeah. She's like, I've seen, you know, men throughout their like lifespan. And she's like, you know, people like yourself in the 40s is really when you're just starting to hit your stride. And I'm like, okay, hopefully you're right. Yeah, but growing up in Ukraine, Soviet Union, which is now modern day Ukraine, made me really appreciate all the things we get to take for granted here, right? Like, unless you ever had to go wait in line when you're like 5 years old by yourself, hoping that like that's the line where you might get butter and your mom's waiting the line where you might get the bread.
Whoa.
Right? Like that's the kind of shit that we have to deal with back then. Because this is the collapse of the Soviet Union, right? As I'm coming to age, and we got really lucky. We got to come here. I was 7 years old. Hence like the language gap, right? I don't have any accent, hopefully.
Not that I noticed.
Okay, good. So if you come over early enough, right? So which we did. And also my parents were like, we're done with that world. So they spoke only English. Like, this is our new land, assimilate. Yeah, so that was a trip, like to just transition to living in this land of abundance, right? It's unbelievable when you come here. You're like, whoa, you know? Yeah, and that was Atlanta. Atlanta is where we landed. And I didn't know any better, like growing up so much of my life. And then me and my then wife, we visited Victoria and Vancouver, BC, like in our 20s. And we're like, holy shit, you can like bike everywhere with your kid. You know, suburbs of Atlanta. I remember I wrote to the city council about going and wanting to take my son to school when he was going to be old enough and saying, hey, we got to put in sidewalks. How are families supposed to walk their kids to school? And they're like, well, that's illegal. It's illegal for you to walk your kid to school. I was like, what do you mean? they're like, well, the school doesn't have the liability policy for people to take their kids to school. You have to either drop them off in a car or have the bus. And I'm like, we have to get the fuck out of here.
Where's this?
This was Woodstock, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wild, right?
So you landed in Atlanta at 7.
Yeah.
What was that, maybe culture shock, or what was that like, that assimilating?
Well, I mean, the first thing that was wild was the couple that we lived with. They were like one of the last white couples left in their neighborhood in Decatur. Decatur was one of those places in the inner city that experienced the white flight back in like 50s and 60s. And so I came to school and I was just like, oh my God, I'm like the only white kid here. This is interesting. This is not what I expected. And within like 2 days or so, they were like, okay, we got to send them to the international schools. So I got bussed out every day. But that was like so wild. You know, it's like things you don't expect. Like all this just kind of constantly turning out better than you could have ever imagined feeling. Especially like, you know, it's one thing, like imagine if you had just landed in the US and all of a sudden you're like, get to go live with some wealthy family, right? Like maybe you have some wealthy family that just took you in, that almost adopted you.
Coming from great poverty.
Yeah. Like that would probably be not as ideal as actually going through this whole journey, like watching my dad start a company and like have that slowly start growing. That was just so beautiful. Like, okay, we upgraded. We went from living with this nice elderly couple that took us in to having our own apartment, to then having our own home, like having a home with a pool, right? Just like constantly just upgrading.
Really feeling and seeing each level.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was such a beautiful experience to get to enjoy this like American immigrant journey, especially watching like my mom and my dad, who were both architects in the Soviet Union. They came here and it's like, well, busboy is like or server is like your best chance right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the harsh reality. Like you see some people that, you know, maybe like your server at a restaurant and it's like, that might be a doctor back in their homeland.
Whoa.
Right. That's pretty mind blowing when you think about it.
I would think that an architect in the Soviet Union would be a great architect here, that there'd be opportunities in that way.
You have to jump through all the hoops again. They're not recognizing your university degrees, all the experience there. Also, just, you know, when you first come over, your language isn't great.
Sure.
But yeah, so that was incredible to watch that ascent, right? And that kind of showed me also how possible it is for people to work their way up and to achieve, you know, really beautiful lifestyle coming from nothing.
It seems like you bring a lot of intention towards this is better than I could have expected.
Better than I could have ever imagined. Yeah.
Okay. Because that is how you left our last meeting. You said those words. And I was like, yeah, that's true for me too. And I'm like, oh, you're intentionally creating that world. You're speaking that world into existence. You're like meeting it halfway, but also attracting it by being like, this is my truth.
Yeah. You know, law of attraction, manifestation, right? I think when a lot of people first go into it, it's with the Dear Santa Claus way.
Okay.
I want the Model X with the white color, and you know, like it's a very specific way. It's literally like you're writing Santa Claus a note. And to me, that's not how it works, right? So the best thing is to leave that space open. Also just allowing it to unfold in ways that you may not expect, right? So just hold that energy. And for me and my wife and I, we do this every morning where we do a gratitude practice, right? Because it's, if you're sitting there and you're super grateful for these simple things, like we have these hot drinks, we're like in our sweet, cozy home, right? That's the thing that is really manifesting the next level of it. Like when you're grateful for what you currently have, because then these other things just kind of naturally transpire and you just have to be willing to step out, right? It's like when that thing comes up last minute, like when you reached out, you're like, hey, you want to do this podcast? I'm like, okay, let's do it, right? Like, I think for a lot of people, like, oh, I need to like think about it, right? One of the things that really I struggle when I'm connecting with someone, and then they say, you know, I made this whole pros and cons list, and that's how I ended up in Boulder. And I'm like, that sucks. That's like a terrible story, first of all.
Very cerebral.
Yeah, it's very head down. Whereas like it's this wild thing. I came out here for this, and then somehow this brought me here. It's like that's so much more fascinating when it's just like you felt led.
Yeah.
Right?
More from the heart, more from the spirit, the soul.
Yeah, and so that's where I would love to see more people not only operating from, but like having these things that come to them that they're like, wow, yeah, that is better than I could have ever imagined. Like if I was manifesting directly what I wanted, it would have never been this good, right? But what came to me was something different and even better.
Yeah, you're saying in the wonder of it, the curiosity.
Yeah.
And that's where I try to be as well. Like
Yeah.
the universe is always speaking to us, and I'm like, can I listen? And what are you saying to me? And how much in my intuition can I be?
Yeah.
What does intuition mean to you? How do you connect with spirit and yourself in that way?
That's a great question. And by the way, I feel like I'm just like coming back to this path after being way up in my head. Because I mean, I'm an engineer, right? Most of my life been doing software, played the CEO role, but definitely realized I'm much more in that engineer, very heady approach. And so this is a constant practice in coming back to, well, A, slowing down, right? And I notice on the days where I don't do, like I try to do at least a 15-minute meditation every morning. And if I don't do that, I can notice this kind of anxiety, this like moving too fast through the day. So always coming back to, okay, it's like, okay, how can I slow down? How can I slow down this moment? If I'm maybe like walking into the building, it's like, okay. Because, you know, when we rush, right, it just, that anxious energy just follows us around.
Yeah, I love playing the rush game.
Do you? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I try to complete 3 tasks before I have to leave in 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And so now my girlfriend's really, Chelsea, very helpful to be like, okay, we need a little bit more time, or let's do this later. Or I'm just like, how much can I get done all the time? And now I'm finding that the more that I slow down, just the more efficient, effective I actually am. It's still a bit counterintuitive to me, but I'm finding as I slow down, more is coming to me. It's like I can see the things that are coming to me. If I'm sprinting, it's things are a blur that are trying to speak to me or trying to show up for me. In other news, because of GMOs, monocropping, and soil depletion, Americans are not getting enough nutrients. That's why in 2018, I founded B Micro, the first freeze-dried microgreens company in the US to help Americans get more natural nutrition in their diets. Microgreens are a phase in the plant's life, and they're just 14 days old and naturally the most concentrated in vitamins, minerals, and unique antioxidants. Our microgreens are all grown here in the US and certified USDA organic and regenerative organic. We grow, wash, and freeze-dry them to extend their shelf life from 1 week fresh to over 1 year, allowing us to ship anywhere in the US without the worry of spoilage. We have 2 flavors: broccoli, backed by over 2,000 studies on sulforaphane for its powerful detox benefits, and a blend of broccoli, radish, and red cabbage, our most powerful detox formula that we've tested, giving you the most bang for your buck. Easily sneak these into any meal: eggs, pizza, pasta, or even your kids' mac and cheese. We have whole leaf, powder, and capsule options, so you can choose the way that works best for you. Use code PLANT15 to save at bmicro.farm.
Yeah. And can you sense into the vibrations of like, okay, almost like your body is leaning towards one decision versus another when you hold them, and you kind of hold them side by side and be like, okay, there's this side, here's here. And it's almost, I mean, that's where I feel like that's like the embodiment practices, right? It's the body has a certain way of responding, right? It's completely like, sometimes it's not logical, and it's hard if you're a very logical person to trust.
Yeah, I've been practicing listening for my intuition and then taking action on what my intuition is saying.
Yeah.
And the more I do that, the more it will speak to me. I noticed when I was in software sales and I was not really in, well, there's some intuition because there's a lot of EQ involved in that type of sale as well. I have a very strong intuition, and the thing that really started my practice with intuition was growing plants. Because and that's what I frequently say on this podcast: if you're looking to connect in with your intuition, start with plants. Because you could read books and you could watch the YouTube videos on how to take care of these plants here, but until you're really with them, you don't know, like, do you need more light, less light, water, fertilizer? Like, what do you need? And I think plants are a beautiful spot to start working your intuition. And I think intuition is the number one way that God's spirit speaks to us. It's like there's like a chain. It's like intuition, and then it's synchronicities, our dreams, and then it's the, okay, you got a fender bender, or you twisted your ankle, or now I'm making you slow down. I'm making you pay attention. So I'm really in the practice of trying to catch, spirit when it's first speaking to me.
Yeah. And just having that trust too, right? Like that's, I think, one of the hardest things, especially for like hyper masculine men, right? Because we need to control. And that control is where the magic dies versus allowing kind of this surrender, like having that volition, right? So having that intention, not just being completely like you're getting thrown around in the ocean, but that like, okay, I'm going to that point, but how I'm getting there, I'm not sure. Like,
to be in the creativity of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I don't think of myself as like a super masculine man, but I do see where I can go overly type A, trying to hold on to things too much. The more I try to hold on to it, the more it slips away. And if I can just be in the like, oh, how creative can I be all the time? And this podcast has really supported in that as well, because early podcast, it was so tight and I've got all these questions and there's all this preparation. And now it's like, oh, I trust my intuition and attunement, and I'm learning how to like attune in a good way. And like, oh, what's the next thing will just emerge? What's the next thing to say or ask? I'm like, oh, there it is. This podcast has been an unbelievable self-growth, self-discovery tool. I'm excited for that. Beautiful. For you too. Hopefully, what are your inspirations to get into podcasting?
So I actually really love being in much deeper connection. Like I struggle with the small talk. And so I would love to have these super deep, these deeper inquiries and this level of that might almost like shock people. And I try to start putting together kind of like the disclaimer, and here's some like sample questions but we just stay at the surface level so much of the time in our discussions. And when we can go and see the other side of human beings, it's just fascinating, right? Because we have no idea. It's like, what scares you, right? Like what brings you so much joy, right? That you could like cry. That to me is just so beautiful. And to come to that point. And then also kind of, I love it when people ask questions that like essentially are almost like a coach. I would love for that, for myself, but also just for people coming in. And, when someone has to really take their time answering, it's like, oh, okay, that was a good one. So I love that moment when you can really get people to dig deep.
What are you calling your podcast?
Regenerosity Society. The theme is around people who are practicing this high level of generosity, right, in business and personal life. But it is mostly very, very strong business leaders who have these visions, but they're doing things in a non-traditional way. There's so many ways we could do it, right? Because we as humans just made up all this shit, right? And then people say, well, you can only do it this way. You're like, kind of, but this is why our legal system is so fun for people who are willing to play in that game, right? Because they see that there's so much gray area constantly to play in. Right? It's not black and white, really, right? Yeah, and more power to those people who are willing to spend all their time on that. Yeah.
Has the podcast launched?
Not yet.
And it will be an in-person podcast?
It'll be both. It'll be a hybrid.
Nice.
So, yeah, the goal for me right now, though, is much more on this spiritual-oriented venture studio. That is that feels like when I talk about, like, because you and I could have a conversation about multiple things, but when I hit on this venture studio or startup studio, right, that's where I start to buzz, right? It's like something that just like lights me up, helps me to wake up without like caffeine, makes me want to keep going. And I think the reason for that is it allows a synergy that I don't currently see. And the synergy between startups, like various startups, right, that you would imagine like a incubator accelerator would have for their startups going through it, but they don't, at least not what I've been finding. So a lot of the startup journey, even when you go through an incubator accelerator, is very lonely, right? You might be lucky, you might have co-founders, right? But
I've never had that.
Yeah. So,
But I'm playing with, I'm finding also through this podcast, my magnetism is increasing. And there's 3 people that have reached out to me that want to start businesses with me. And I'm playing just with each one of those ideas. Oh, let me see. Let me put a little in. And what do you put in? And then what as we water it a little bit, what shows up. But all of them would be with a co-founder, and all with females.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. So you're on a similar track, similar journey. And the other part of the synergy, this is something that I believe is so needed right now as more and more people are having spiritual awakenings. Imagine you just had your first spiritual awakening. You're like, I've been in the corporate world. I've done this, all the things that people told me I should do. And now what?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
there's no going back. When I bought this, it was one day after my spiritual awakening in the jungles of Peru, in Iquitos, Peru, after doing ayahuasca. And I was like, whoa, I had no idea. Growing up super conservative Christian, I thought that I was just in this very narrow kind of pen. And I'm like, oh, there's a whole big world out here.
Yeah. So it's really painful. And this is something that came to me from this powerful solstice ceremony that I had. I was like, this is again one of those things that was better than I could have ever imagined, because I wasn't calling that in, right? It was something that was presented to me. It was a gift. So everything just kind of unfurled. So this ceremony, one of the biggest takeaways for me was the amount of people who have spiritual experiences and then go right back into slumber because it's so painful. It's so painful to really be awake, to try to find the others, and to try to, have a comfortable lifestyle, especially in a place like Boulder, right? This is a premium place. So having these two worlds that you're trying to reconcile, a lot of people aren't actually willing to go through that pain, right? Like if you basically said, hey, if you really want to go further with your spiritual awakening, you have to like release all these material possessions. You have to be willing to be like homeless. You have to, really put yourself out there. Most people aren't going to do that, right? Does that mean that they shouldn't have the unfolding of that spiritual awakening continue? So I've gone through one hell of like a dark night of the soul and just the recovery period from that. And I'm grateful for it. But I also think we lose a lot of people, a lot of like, especially very vulnerable, sensitive souls on that journey, right? They basically say the pain is too much and they check out.
Because they don't have support along the way.
They feel all alone. They feel like they can't reconcile, right? And they're
not integrating it.
Essentially, or like their integration, it doesn't feel possible to integrate back in such a way that they can really be thriving in society, right? So they feel kind of pushed away, or they're pushing themselves out. And so this is where I'm like, look, the people who've got this lifetime of business experience and who are having the spiritual awakening would so love to be inside of an organization where their skills can still be utilized, but they still get to have that day-to-day, like meeting to meeting deep presence and these practices, right, that bring you back into gratitude, that bring you back into your body, because you hardly ever see that, right? Like in business meetings, like if you just attend most business meetings, it's just like directly, it's just very much from the head the whole time. I think gratitude is maybe coming into some of these, especially as people are like, oh, the Harvard study proved this. And you're like, of course they did. Like, it's crazy that we have to, have a study that proves something that you're like, I know it in my own body that it feels right to start this way. So that to me is the thing that pulls me along right now. And that feels like it could be the catalyst to so many other possibilities birthing through it, right? Because when you bring people together and there's the feeling of safety, because creativity is constricted when there's a feeling of essentially danger. And a lot of people in the startup culture, even when their startup has raised some money, and it still feels dangerous. It feels precarious.
I haven't raised money, so I don't know that feeling.
But okay.
But I can imagine.
Yeah, but you can, even if you haven't raised money, the more people you add in, like the more possibilities for things going wrong. It's a constant trust fall, right? To keep going on that journey. It is really painful. I do think that it can lead to tremendous amounts of personal growth. And yet for most people, it ends up Like, I know personally speaking, I got put into a position very early on where I became IT director because the company was faltering, and they're like, okay, we have to let almost, all these other people go. You're one of the cheapest ones because you're one, you're only like 2 years in. So we're going to give you the IT director role. I was not ready to manage the people we had remaining. And imagine the amount of people that never grew up enough to have that understanding of like my traumas, like my way of connecting with myself, not like self-love is something that um, is very lacking,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's hard because of the ways. And I mean, this is why a lot of founders end up creating companies, right? Like it's not out of a pulling towards something. They're pushing themselves away from something, right? It's not wanting to feel insignificant, right?
Yeah, seeking external gratification or like approval
Yeah.
or yeah, that was some of it for me. Luckily, the I've always been in my entrepreneurial journey very spirit guided. I was like, okay, these plants, I had no idea that there are teachers, healers, guides, teammates. I had no idea. I just thought a tree was a tree and a bush was a bush, and I was like, are they even alive? They're like, I
Wow.
wasn't even thinking in that way because it's just not taught in the conservative Christian church.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, the pastor and the Bible is your path to God. Don't even try to talk to God yourself. Really, just speak through us, and we'll relay the message, kind of a thing. And then I had this awakening with the plants. I'm like, I've got to help plants. I got to spread these plants. Like
Yeah.
these plants are pure light. How do we spread this light? Started a farm, found microgreens, started freeze drying them. Just trusting the journey, and and as it unfolds. And yeah, it's also a very lonely journey. A lot of self doubt. I think sometimes I'm seeking external validation. That's the word, especially like from my parents. They're just like, "Hey, you crushed corporate America. Go back to corporate America. It was a lot better then. You were making a lot more money then." Yeah, I'm at kind of like the break even phase of my business, which I'm grateful for. I used to have a 5,000 a month burn
Wow.
just out of personal savings, and so now I'm at a much more stable place, and the creativity is flowing. It would be really nice, maybe in these next ventures, to be a part of an incubator, be a part of a group of people that share resources, just even sharing stories. And that's a beautiful part of this podcast is the deepening of connection. And it's like I rarely get to have this type of conversation with somebody, and it fills me up so much. And it's like it puts fuel back in the tank.
Yeah. So what exactly keeps you going on those days where you just are filled with so much just angst about it, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
especially when you have people coming to you and saying, why would you not take this job? I mean, I'm sure you've had this where people are literally like sending you jobs. They're like, but look at
Mm-hmm.
this job. It's perfect for
Mm-hmm.
you. And you're like, the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I've gotten several job offers along the way, and I think I'd be a way better if I went back to software sales. I'd be a way better salesperson. I was selling ERP systems. I understand a business now from this side of things a lot better, and my own fractured system of disparate system of Shopify with 20 different apps, and I'm not getting clear signals, and I'm like what to trust and what really are my analytics, and I could just speak so much better to it. But I just know that my path is more of one of of just self-discovery,
Yeah.
and this path of the podcast, the natural products business, these other businesses are preparing me for something else. I can sense, I'm like, oh, there's something around the corner that I'm getting prepared for. And I could feel when I get to sit with someone like you, I could feel the gap in maybe in meditation or in fatherhood or in some certain skill levels. I could feel the gap between where you're at and where I'm at. And I'm like, oh, I can now more sense areas that I can grow into and where I'm inspired to grow into these spaces as well. I wasn't making any friends doing software sales. I was like, now being in natural products, I've got this whole podcast is just full of world-class friends that I've made in Boulder through going out on my own and really just going for it. So I think the software sales is a safe path for me right now if I were to go back to it, but I don't think it would would aliven me. At the end of my software sales, I was quite depressed, and I was thinking in almost like an apocalyptic way. Sometimes I'd look out the window of the airplane, the hotel room, the whatever, and I would just envision war. I'd be like, what if a war just broke out? Maybe that would be better than this.
Yeah.
And that just kept coming out. I'm like, oh, I'm depressed. And then that's when I started booking one-way tickets around the world, found myself in the jungle, found ayahuasca. And then I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot more to this. It helped to realign me in certain ways and see why, I'll see a lot of this Christian thinking doctrine in me. And it sparked something new. So I'm just in deep trust of this way. And when I feel off center, I will go move my body in nature. It's like nature just speaks to me. Just get into nature, and nature is the ultimate reset, brings the clarity. Sometimes I'll pray with tobacco, or I think just coming back to prayer and like, how can I connect back to myself? Because somehow I've gotten disconnected from myself, my signal.
Yeah. It's amazing how quickly we can become disconnected, right?
Especially with screens.
Yeah. Especially with screens. And just all the social media, right? It's just, they've done such a good job making it addictive and really just keeping people, retained. Yeah. So that's really painful to think about, but it's also where, we have that power to take back where is it that we're giving our energy. And here's a fascinating thing. So I had this community in Portland. It was based around a holistic lifestyle. And even though it was a lot of people who were into yoga and meditation, I knew everyone had screen addictions, right? Because that's just common. Everyone's got their favorite, social media app.
I do. I'm addicted to it by posting every single day. I'm the one doing the posting. I hope to give that away soon, let go of that. But it's like, whoa, you post and then you scroll for a little while. And I've got an app on my phone that limits, like, okay, you can be on social media for 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, get as much done as I can. Post and ghost. But I'm like, oh man, do I love scrolling my brains out.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually, I started doing 12-minute timers if I do get on. And it's funny, so I have a son who's 8 now. His name is Sage. And, he calls Instagram, he's like, the cat videos app. He's like, can we go to the cat videos app? I'm like, okay, we could do that. That's like our little, it's really bonding, right? To laugh together like that. I wish there was one that was, not making it so, because it seems like the videos are getting shorter and shorter, and there's more and more of them compressed in. And it's just not good for you, especially now that AI is generating a bunch of them. We're like, oh, that was clearly AI, right? But I just love the way that he's like, hey, we forgot to set a timer. I was like, dude, you're so good. But yeah, so taking that power back. But what I noticed in this community in Portland was nobody was on their screens in the the community spaces. It was very much people were there to be social. And I just love that, right? Because there's some people who will come into a community space and they don't actually want to be social. They just want to kind of just be around that energy. They don't want to be alone in their room. That to me is just the power of community, right? And this is where I think about, so many people are like, well, I don't want to be in community because it's uncomfortable. And you're like, yeah. So is growth, right? Communities can work really well, like co-living communities, right? Can work really well. But you have to be really well matched, and you need that personal development system, right? This is what brought us out here originally, is we lived in a community in Lyons that was based around, it's called possibility management, is this whole framework. It's a transpersonal psychology framework with tiny bits of energy work and mysticism thrown in there. Really fascinating. This is part of what helped me get in touch with my emotions. This framework, especially going through a retreat before entering into the community, like a 5-day long, really intense retreat, like a training. It's like, wow, we were all on the same page. We all had very clear like, someone could come up and say, hey, can you hold space for me for 5 minutes while I just like freak out? Right. But you couldn't just come up and just start freaking out. Be like, I need to tell you about this. It's like, that's dumping. But it was amazing because you could also just say no, right? You could be like, no, not now. Please find someone else or come back, like in a half hour, I'll be ready. And people would be like, okay, yeah. It's just so amazing to be at that level of communication that probably looked really weird from the outside because we're just not used to communicating so strongly and so directly. Yeah, just amazing. I'm like, this is what I think so many companies still need. They fall way short. Like the kind of trainings that they do. I mean, everything in corporate world is pretty watered down, to be honest. I mean, like I did market validation for a wellness startup where we were going to help the organizations incentivize their staff for healthy lifestyle metrics that we can measure through an Apple Watch or an Aura or a Whoop. And essentially, it was sleep was number one. That's like 60% of your well-being. So if someone's not getting good sleep, and it was strange because when I was doing market validation, people were basically saying, well, what I do in my off time doesn't matter. And I'm like, wait. If you show up sleep deprived, that's the equivalent of you showing up drunk, right? And people are like, well, it doesn't matter. Like I did that when I wasn't in the office. And I was just like, that's so strange.
Yeah, it's all connected.
It's all connected. And when I was talking to HR people about this, they were like, well, we do step challenges. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, like that's okay as a baseline. Like steps can be helpful. And I could totally see people gaming that, right? As they put it on their dog, whatever. But it's also a lot of these apps that currently existed when I was doing this validation, they were honor system based. You could say, oh, I took 20,000 steps today.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're like, we send out emails about drinking enough water. And I'm like, well, what about HRV? They're like, HR what? They don't, these concepts are just so foreign. They're too far out there. I'm like, well, HRV is your life force measurement. You could tell how stressed someone is. You could tell, if their diet is working, if their sleep is failing them. And they're like, yeah, that's like, what was really funny is talking to CPOs, like these chief people officers who were, essentially like so close to retirement, they just say anything. And one guy was like, our problem is that we promote individual achievers. And so we have a bunch of managers who don't actually know how to manage people. And he's like, I want to take like quarter of them out back and do away with them. I was like, oh my God. It's like, okay, tell me how you really feel.
That was my sales experience.
What? Really?
You promote the best salespeople to managers.
Yeah.
And just because you can sell really good doesn't mean you'd be a great manager. And I've worked for a couple of really good companies. And, the one that I left was, you don't leave a good company, you leave like a bad manager. So what type of tools are you giving these managers? Are you saying that these types of tools is what you're bringing into this new system? What are you calling this new venture?
The Secret Startup Studio.
Yeah, nice. I love alliteration.
Thank you. Yeah, and the secret refers to that magic behind it, right? That manifestation magic that's possible when people come together and have that shared intention, right? Of like what wants to be born through us, right? Because when you look at metrics, right? People are like, well, look at our our customer acquisition costs, our LTV. This is amazing, right? And it's like, yeah, but do you feel that? Like, do you feel like this is actually the thing? It's like, no, but look at this. Like, logically speaking. And you're like, but if you don't want to, like, if your heart's not in it, why are you doing it, right?
What are we doing, right?
Yeah, it's like, because it's going to make money. And it's like, well, what about the other things that can make money? And
Can you align your spirit and your work? I think that's when I was in corporate America, my spirit was not in it. It's like the more money hungry that I was, the better I did as a salesperson. It's like, that is my only focus, is how much money can I make?
Yeah. And what's the ultimate outcome of that, right? You probably got them a bunch of sales, but now what? Now, I mean, for yourself personally, but for that company too, right? Like if it wasn't really aligned, are we actually causing more harm, right? Because what I love is those salespeople that are just so calm. Like I have a friend here who's he's actually at the Toyota dealership, and I think that he ends up making crazy amounts of sales because he's a yogi, he's a meditator, and people just love his energy. They probably just want to spend as much time as possible with him, and there's just no pressure, right? Like he's knowledgeable enough about the cars, but it's more so just like this, like, it's okay. Like if you don't buy the car, that's
Yeah.
perfect. And I think that's like the most amazing sales position to be in of
Yeah.
like, I just want to get to know you. I want to help you out. And I don't actually want to sell you on our product if it's really not a good fit, right? That's so rare though, because we incentivize how much money can you make, right?
Oh yeah, I would try to close every deal. I would chase down even half dead deals. I'm like I'm selling everything, and I'm working any type of a promo discount, whatever I can do to close this.
Yeah.
It was angsty. In my software days, it was a big alcohol culture as well. There was a lot of drinking.
Yeah.
Now I don't really drink at all, but then it was yeah.
This is where I love being in Boulder as a bubble, but I also see this culture shift. I met with so many people who there was something about their LinkedIn. I was like, I want to reach out to you, right? I don't know what it is. You seem kind of corporate-ish. And then we have a coffee, and all of a sudden we're starting talking about plant medicines, right? And I'm like, wow, like you didn't put any of that on your LinkedIn. It's like, no, of course, that's a part of me that I can't bring into my work life, right? And I'm like, well, maybe you could, right?
Yeah, why
It's like,
not?
Yeah.
I was very fearful of bringing that into this podcast because it's very bad and wrong with my family. My family doesn't even know I'm going to Columbia on Wednesday. They're
Well.
told me, they're like, we don't want to hear about it, and we don't want you to tell us about it. We don't. So that feels a little. There's a sadness that I can't be fully myself and express my truths but I get almost living these two different worlds, but now I'm in the practice of this podcast of outing myself in these different ways.
Yeah. That vulnerability is so powerful, right? Because
It's easy to relate to. Other people can easily relate to that. I grew up in a way where it's like, hey, everything is squeaky clean over here, very surface level. Love my family. There's a lot of depth to them, but there's also there's a real veneer there, and there's one emotion, and that emotion is just happiness. And so I didn't learn many emotions growing up, and there's still some emotions that I'm working to even express, like anger and frustration. And I've either been passive or I've been aggressive. I haven't been really assertive. And so I'm this even saying those types of things right here, right now, I'm like, oh, that's healing and freeing, and other people can resonate with that. They can't resonate with like, oh, I'm crushing my business, I'm crushing my relationship, I'm just winning. It's like, oh no, I'm as real as you, and everybody's going through something, and here's what I'm going through, and let me do my best of sharing that. That's where I'm at with this process.
Yeah. God, and imagine, I mean, so all those emotions carry weight. They carry so much power to them. So one of the things my wife and I learned from this possibility management course, which is called Expand the Box, right? By the way, the other thing amazing about this, so 5-day workshop, you would normally think, okay, that's going to be a few $1,000s. They're like, no, all the facilitators can only charge like 500 something. Unbelievable, right? Because they want to keep it affordable and not have this whole like tiered system. And anyway, so
that's how they do it with like Vipassana.
Yeah, Vipassana is all donation based, completely donation based.
Yeah.
So the 4 feelings check in. So like say like I feel like 80% happy, like 80% joy around just being here with you right now. It's like, this is amazing, right? I feel like 10% sadness in just the way that like there's so much suffering in the world, but I'm keeping that kind of at bay. It's like, and I feel, let's say, I feel like maybe also like just 10% angry right now that, like we still can't get it together as a society. Like basic things aren't together. Going through the 4 emotions and like saying like, I feel angry, and you don't have to give the percentages, but it like, when you're checking in with your partner, it's really helpful for them to know. It's like, oh, you feel really angry about this, right?
What are the 4 emotions?
So joy, fear, anger, and sadness.
Okay, and then just trying to keep them to those 4, and if you can, give a percentage to it.
Yes. Yeah. So, and there is always going to be something when you really feel into it. It's like there's something I feel fear about, right? Like I feel fear, like, how am I going to show up on this, right? And actually, that's like probably 60% fear right now, right? Putting yourself out there.
You're crushing it, by the way.
Thanks,
It's
man.
going great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have a good baseline. I don't know what else other people have shown up like here.
You're attuning, you're just in the flow with it, and we're dancing.
Yeah, thank you.
Some
Yeah.
people will show up and they'll just talk for 45 minutes straight, and I can't. I'm like, how do I get in? How are we dancing? It's just like but yeah, you're attuning, you're in the dance, you're a good dance partner.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Steve. Okay, so for feeling check-ins, super powerful, especially for couples, right? So you each take your turn doing that. Then there's the 4 bodies check-in that you can do, right? Because there's the physical body, right? You might be feeling tired, but there's the emotional body where like, well, emotionally I feel great, right? I feel kind of ecstatic even though my physical body feels tired. There's the emotional, so physical, emotional, spiritual, and the 4th one's slipping me. Maybe you can guess.
Oh, physical, emotional, spiritual. I don't have a guess.
I guess psychological. I guess that would also be kind of, we don't do this one as much, hence it's harder to remember. But you kind of, you break down the bodies in that sense, right? Or maybe, I think the 4th one is actually just energetically, like total energetics wise, like putting out good amounts of energy, or do you feel very closed off, like closed in? So it's fascinating because the more that you can start to dissect these bodies that we're all constantly in, the more that you can understand, well, A, what's affecting them, right? It's like, oh, I feel that way. And it's like, I could see it's because of this. And when you name it, it's much easier to address it, right? So yeah, it's just little practices, right? And imagine if you could bring these into workplaces, and people will say, well, this is wasting time, right? And you're like, no, if you think about this from the standpoint of energetics, the vast majority of people are drinking tons of caffeine to get through their day. And I love my caffeine, like I love my matcha, love my chocolate, but at the same time, I know that I'm borrowing at a very high interest rate from the bank, from the energy bank. Yeah, like caffeine is huge interest rate of a loan, right? Because you're never getting energy from those, right? You're actually just redeploying energy. So when you think about it from that standpoint, right? Like things like ginseng, for example, are giving you energy. They're adaptogens, right? So we can be doing those, but they're still, I mean, like they're just not widely available, right? Like I would love to see workplaces where all of your supplements are provided for. Because when you think about that investment of like, even if you're buying super high grade supplements for individuals, right? So maybe like $250 worth, maybe 300. Okay, let's say that $300 investment to get that person's energy levels to be more stable. Like L-theanine is something that I feel like everyone should be taking when you do coffee or high caffeine tea, right? Because the L-theanine is going to smooth out the caffeine curve.
Is that what you get in green tea?
You do. It's just not. So people are like, oh, matcha has the L-theanine. You're like, it's such a tiny amount. Whereas like, I mean, it's not tiny. It's like, say, I think like 40 or 50 milligrams.
So supplement it with the green tea.
Yeah. And you could, this is one of those things too. If you had caffeine too late in the day, like maybe you had chocolate cake. You're like, wow, there's a lot of chocolate in there. L-theanine is going to be that kind of counteractor that will help you go to sleep, right? These are like simple things. Like L-theanine is dirt cheap, right? I mean, it's like $10 for a month's supply, maybe even less than that. This creatine, fish oil, CoQ10, B complex, just start with the bare bones, right? Like that alone.
How much creatine are you taking?
I take maybe 10 to 15, like I supplement 10 to 15 grams, and then I'm mostly carnivore-ish right now. That's what my body likes, right? And this is where when people talk about, well, my diet is this, and you're like, well, have you done a water fast, right? Because if you do the water fast, what you realize is that what does my body really want? Not what is it that I'm used to eating, right? Because we have these preconceived notions that this is good and that is bad, right? And until we get super sensitive to it, you don't realize what it's really doing for you. So that's where I'm like, just do a fucking water fast, like however many days you can. Even just like a 36-hour water fast is going to have such a reset on just the gut, right? And it's like if you can make it then another 24 hours, now you're getting into more of the autophagy, like start cleaning out, right? That's where it's like just start with the basics, right? And imagine like if this was part of that work culture, like from a health standpoint, if you compensated people for getting good sleep, for being willing to do fasting, that would alone like get you so much higher just health levels in your team. So there's less sick days, right? It's like when I think what we think about a lot of times, like in terms of like insurance costs and just healthcare costs, is from a very shallow and very like retrospective or very reactive thing, right? We try to deal with issues after they're already transpiring when it's harder to deal with them, right? Than it is to go and start being proactive about them, right? Like pay people to get good sleep is a simple thing. And I was surprised when that company was called Wellnia. I was surprised when I felt like I have to like stop. The market validation is clear that this is not something that like truly will matter, and that the existing solutions that are pretty watered down is all that people really want. So who knows? Maybe another 5-10 years, something like that will take hold.
So share again what that baseline is. You said sleep. You named a few supplements. Maybe go through that baseline. From your market study and just your own personal wellness routine.
I would say focus on reducing stress, right? Like that should be the start of everything. How do you reduce stress? So what's the simplest, freest things you could do? Going and taking a hike, right? You're walking in nature, fresh air, moving your body.
In the sun.
In the sun, right? Amazing.
No headphones. No.
Well, yeah, definitely no headphones, right? I think that totally kills so much of the experience.
Especially their Bluetooth headphones.
Yeah.
There's a lot showing that that's frying your brain.
Yeah. So, and that's also the part of like, if you're in nature, put your phone at least on airplane mode, right? I actually keep my phone on airplane mode like 90 something % of the time because you don't need it. You don't need all the mobile data when you're on Wi-Fi. At home, we're all on Wi-Fi. And so you usually have Wi-Fi calling, right? That's the thing most people can enable. So that's just like feels nice, right? But when you're out in nature, especially when you're hiking where there's no cell reception, like you notice your battery dying, like, well, your screen wasn't on. What's it doing? It's fucking beaming that signal. So it's like screaming at the top of its lungs.
Going hardcore, trying to get a signal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, you got to put it on airplane mode, really disconnect from all that shit.
Because we're electric beings, and the EMFs, the electricity, that signal, that invisible signal is having a impact on us.
Yeah, for sure. I think it would interfere with the grounding. But yeah, so like getting out in nature, disconnecting, being in the sunlight, like that is already like very de-stressing. But then it's like, what are the things that we do that we're paying for that are actually hurting us, right? We overload with caffeine. Right. That's a thing that I think we need to treat as much more of a sacred molecule. Caffeine is like a psychedelic. I don't know if you've heard of these. There's a tea. It's in Ecuador. It's probably in Peru too, because it's the same land. It's called Guayusa. Okay. So Guayusa is really powerful tea. It's called the Night Watchman, and essentially there are ceremonies where you just drink disgusting amounts of this tea. And it's got other it's got other compounds in it, but I think it's mostly the caffeine. Like crazy high levels of caffeine are psychedelic, right?
I've never been a caffeine drinker, really. I'll have a little bit of tea now and again, but I'm very sensitive to it. Like if I need to do a long car ride, I don't want to be desensitized to it. I want it to work when I need it. But I also had some college roommates that got addicted to caffeine to where if they didn't have it, they were getting headaches. And that's what kept me away from it.
Yeah. So over a year ago, I got really bad COVID. Like I had COVID maybe like 5 or 6 times before that. Like I got it. I feel like I got it like in every single wave. And it took me out. The first time I thought I was going to die. I was just like, I don't know what's going on. This is terrible fucking flu.
Do you have the body aches?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like I was just laid out for several days, just kind of like in a half dying kind
Yeah.
of way.
Yeah.
Anyways, so this last time around though, it was interesting. I mean, I was like laid out for a couple weeks, kind of like I was also probably overdoing. I was overstressing with work, right?
Mm.
Stress kills the immune system,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just the two don't go work together,
Mm-hmm.
or at least not very well. So I got really bad COVID. Realized that I probably ended up with long haul COVID because my energy levels never recovered. It was really
Mm.
weird feeling. And then I remember talking with an MD here, and he's like, "Oh, well, nicotine is actually really helpful." So I did a little more research, and it's like, sure enough, there's all these doctors that have come out and basically said nicotine binds to the same receptor sites as COVID does. And so essentially, it's really helpful for people who either have long haul COVID or have had an adverse reaction to the COVID vaccine, right? That are having the circulation issues. So doing patches is what a lot of doctors recommend, right? It's essentially like do like 2 or 3 milligrams, and supposedly under 3 milligrams a day is not enough to get you addicted. I
Okay.
think it still could if you, especially if you're sensitive and you notice that the nootropic aspect, because nicotine is it's a powerful nootropic, right?
Yeah. I've just started chewing a nicotine gum,
Uh-huh.
2 milligrams, and to use it as nootropic.
Yeah.
And I'll chew a little bit and I'll let it sit in my mouth. I'll chew a little bit, but I've only done it maybe 4 or 5 times. I'm brand
Okay.
new to this, just like seeing, because I've been praying with tobacco, but I've been noticing a lot of phlegm. And my doctor got me on NAD and something else so I could sit in a ceremonial way with tobacco. But I'm like, it isn't serving me.
Yeah.
But I love the nicotine.
Yeah, it is addictive. I end up finding these 1.5 milligram pouches, right? So the ones you put in your like canine. And those, I mean, for like people who are coding wise, I'm surprised. I feel very late to the game, right? Like, because this is actually, I think, better and more sustainable in some ways than caffeine is, right? Because I think with caffeine, you have much more of a crash.
Yeah, big up, big down.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a little more smoother, and it does interfere with my sleep. So I just have to, stop early enough in the day.
What
But the
time?
patches don't. That's what's
Okay.
interesting. I've fallen asleep with the patches on many times and woke up the next day. I'm like, oh shit, I still have it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
give me maybe some advice. So I'm just getting into the gum now. I'm hearing,
okay.
and I'm Lucy gum, just because an MD friend of mine, that's what she's using, and 2 milligrams. And like I said, I've only had it a handful of times. I tried it with a workout. I tried it on a hike. I tried it with. I haven't done it on a podcast yet. Yeah, maybe what are like the parameters? How to best use it? How do you recommend using nicotine?
I mean, for me, I get these large, like the 21 milligram patches, right? And you just cut them up and you
Oh,
figure
okay.
out like what size do I want, right? Do I want a tiny one?
Who's making these patches that you like?
Rugby.
Rugby.
Rugby is the one that a lot of these like very COVID specific doctors have
Oh.
recommended.
Huh.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by B Micro, organic freeze-dried microgreens for easy everyday nutrition. Sprinkle them on any meal and enjoy the benefits. Shop now at bmicro.farm and use PLANT15 to save 15% off your next order.
So, and it's like, I don't know what it was, like maybe $30 for like, what was it, 15 pack? It's like super economical. So essentially it's like 50 cents a patch when
Yeah.
you cut them up.
Same
right?
for the gum. I'm like, this is very reasonable.
Yeah, definitely beats like paying $5 at Starbucks, right? Like if you're tired, I did this on this last road trip that I did. I had the nicotine with me, super helpful to just stay awake without like overdoing it. And I also, for me, I noticed with caffeine, I will end up actually getting like it backfires at a certain point. When you're super tired, it's almost like a caffeine nap is necessary to really make use of it. So the crash can be really hard, whereas the nicotine just feels like it always works consistently. So anyways, it's weird. It's really weird to say this and to be like pro nicotine now, because I was also, I started smoking cigarettes when I was like 13, 14. It's really like way too young.
I was into cigars, cigarellos,
Yeah, those guys. Yeah,
which maybe is like many cigarettes in one, but just on occasion, just be like, oh, we're being bad. I never felt addicted to it at all.
Okay, yeah. Those are. I remember we used to cut those up and make blunts out of them, and like put weed in them. That was terrible. I'm like, who knows how much we fucked up our lungs. Luckily, the human body's super resilient, right? But yeah, so it feels weird to be like recommending nicotine for people. But I think from a health standpoint, especially with the effects that COVID has had and the amount of people who are suffering from long haul COVID, this is one of those like godsends, right? Especially just so the patches are completely artificial. They're completely synthetic nicotine, right?
Okay.
So there's no carcinogens in them. And I mean, this is where it's like, okay, do your research. Like, go and do your research yourself. See if this is something you feel comfortable with. Don't listen to people on the internet who are telling you to do stuff, right? It's far too easy to like give up our power. To be like, well, Andrew Huberman said that this is fine, and you're like, well, how do you know that? You know, he didn't get paid for it, right? Like,
Good point. You see that a lot with athletic greens. It's like, what the
I
heck?
was hoping none of this was athletic greens.
No, no,
I was
this is my brand. We'll get
Yeah,
into
yeah.
that in a moment. But it's like, okay, how could you be into a supplement that has 100 ingredients sourced from all around the world? It's not organic. Are you getting an efficacious dose, enough of any one of those ingredients to actually move you? And and they're worth billions of dollars, and they pay people a lot of money. Do you think Joe Rogan and Andrew Huberman are actually consuming athletic greens? I doubt it.
No, no. I think that that's one of those. That's one of those stories of capitalism that when we look back on it, we're gonna be like, wow, that was really sad, right? And people who, we looked up to will hopefully, at least the ones that have that level of caring, yeah, or yeah, that those people would step up and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like we totally pushed this on you knowing that it wasn't actually that good, right? We knew, but the
It
money was
wasn't
too
bad
good.
for you. We got paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
probably wasn't that good for you.
Yeah.
It's probably just like a nothing.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is where I come back to, I want to play in the business world with people who have that high level of integrity, right? And that can be really hard to tell, right? How much time do you need to spend with someone to know they're really in integrity? With some people, you can kind of feel that right away. You're like, oh, okay, you wear your heart on your sleeve. But with others, I mean, this is where I was not actually for plant medicine before. I was the kid in high school that did way too many like psychedelics. Like I went to raves when I was like 15, 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I remember one time I took a 10 strip against the advice of everyone.
10 strip of LSD.
Yeah.
So that means like 10 hits of
Yeah.
LSD.
And normally it's like, okay, let's put it this way. I had done a lot of LSD up to this point,
Wow.
but
I never even smoked cannabis until I was 27.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. This was weird. This was definitely one of those things that I look back on. I'm like, oh my God, can't believe I did this.
Was it to like kind of prove something to people? Like, look at how tough I am.
No, it was simply, I had just really enjoyed like experimenting with LSD, having it kind of take me to these various realms. But I wanted to see, I'm like, okay, well, what is like way out there, right? What's the realm that a 10 strip takes you to? Like, what, people are like, you'll lose your mind. I'm like, I don't think so. Because you hear about musicians, like, what was the name? What's the musician that put a 10 strip on his head, or not a 10 strip, 100, like a whole sheet
No
on his
way.
forehead. Yeah. And like in a bandana. And so throughout the concert, he's just sweating it all into his body.
Whoa.
Yeah. I bet people remember who
Yeah,
that
we'll,
is.
we'll put it on screen when it shows up.
Yeah, this is quite the rock star. Anyways, so I had done all this plant. I had done all these psychedelics. Never was in any kind of proper setting, right? This was always just what happenstance. Raves, that was weird, right? So I've been kind of keeping it at bay. I got into cultivating mushrooms. I was cultivating like oysters, and tried lion's mane shiitake. Those failed horribly, right? It's really hard to grow. Oysters are like super easy. I'm like, you should not be able to fuck that up. And then I did some psilocybin. Grew my own.
Because you're allowed to buy spores legally
Yeah,
online.
that was amazing,
It's
right? And
unbelievable.
yeah,
What
like
a great
all
loophole.
these variety. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, okay. Yeah, so I got kind of back into it, but I never felt called to like go to a ceremony. Like when I lived in Ecuador, I had the opportunity to do an Aya ceremony. Like I was actually there, and I just was like, no, this doesn't feel right. Like A, I don't know these people. B, the shaman's kid is like jumping out of like random places, like trying to scare
Oh,
I
wow.
was like, fuck.
Ah!
I'm not. This kid will scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, and he knows it. This kid knows.
Yeah, he knows how to fuck with
It's
people.
just shadow time, buddy. It's like, I want the light. I'm
Yeah.
sunshines and rainbows over here.
Yeah. So I had to like make that choice to like leave my friends there. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'll see y'all in the morning.
Wow.
And it was also, I mean, Ecuador has some really interesting healers where some of them go like they do this super hard style. They did the Aya ceremony that night. The next day, there's a sweat lodge with San Pedro.
Wow.
So I did that part. I was happy to do that part. That was great. I felt so much better, especially, like the friends that I came with, they're like, can you drive? I'm not able to drive. I'm like, great. Of course which is great too. Cause like if he would have been driving, I mean, these roads are like kind of like the death roads, right? Like you need to gun it up the hill around the pin curve in order to make sure that you've got enough traction to
Whoa.
make it up out of this, like a canyon. Anyways, so luckily, yes, everything turned out fine, but I never felt called to these ceremonies. And this one that happened on the solstice was very happenstance, like last minute. And I'm so grateful that I took that opportunity. Like it was just a clear yes, right?
And for those listening, listen to the calling. Don't just
Yeah.
because other people are doing, because I'm talking about it, I'm like, I'm going to Colombia tomorrow and you're going this weekend, you're going tomorrow, and everyone's, it's like, listen, it will speak to you, it'll call to you, like listen to your intuition on it, not like trying to tell anybody that they should be doing anything. And if the opportunity presents itself in a safe way, and especially where there's a lot of respect for the indigenous teachings of it, and led by somebody with generational experience, that you might pay more attention to that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people get FOMO, like, oh, everyone's doing Aya. It's like, well, is that really the medicine that you need at this time of your life, right?
Psilocybin's a great entry point. Psilocybin, I mean, most of these medicines can all take you to the same place, and it's just a connection to God. That's what I feel like. I'm practicing this. And my mentors that are in their 70s, they rarely sit. One of my mentors, he lived on a Navajo Indian reservation for 30 years. And he sat in peyote ceremonies like every weekend. And now he hasn't sat in like a decade, because he's figured out how to connect with God and spirit and self and his soul friends and his team without the need for the psychedelics. The psychedelics help us they do some of the work for us to help us connect.
Yeah.
While we're learning how to do it ourselves, and that it's even possible.
And I mean, this is where I see it as something that can end up being a crutch. So like in Ecuador, for example, this little Andean town called Vilcabamba, which is where I met my lovely wife. There's so many friends that we have where it's like, okay, I have a hard decision to make. I need to go do an Aya ceremony. And you're like, whoa, like how many have you done this year?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, is it now becoming something that's hindering you?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I'm like, I need to go to the medicine for the medicine to tell me. It's like, no, the medicine's trying to teach me and help me to connect in with my own intuition. I'll show up and it's like, oh, I just went to a ceremony, and the medicine will be like, we got nothing to show you, buddy. You really shouldn't even be here.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like,
Awesome.
Are you working on the stuff that you figured out from last time? I'll see that a lot in ceremony. People that are just, it's like working on the same thing over and over, and the same story, and the same rut, and the same pattern. I think that's where therapy plus psychedelics is really powerful.
Yeah. And, I realized after this powerful ceremony that, I would love to help bring people into this. I would love to figure out, especially for business leaders, right? If we can get our leaders to start having this shift in consciousness as Zach Bush was saying in this recent talk we listened to, consciousness is like this aperture, right? It's like, how open are you to consciousness coming through you? So if we can get them to start opening their apertures, that should ripple down through the organizations, because surely their fucking traumas, as you probably know, like ripple down, right? Like managers are probably fucking up people's psyche on.
Yeah, my alcoholic bosses, that alcoholism, I didn't realize. I was just a kid. I didn't realize that they were alcoholics, and that's why they wanted to take us out drinking all the time.
Yeah, yeah, because you don't feel as bad. You're like, well, I'm not an alcoholic because you guys are all doing this too. So yeah, but the thing that I realized, because I would love to invite people into these ceremonies, I would love to bring them in. And to have like a whole program around this. But what I also realized was I want to bring in people who've done the baseline level of work so that when we're sitting in a ceremony, we can have this powerful shared intention of like, we as leaders, what do we want to have come through us? How do we surrender? Right? Release all this shit that we're holding, release the egos and see it's like, okay, well, what's spirit? Like, what is it? What does it want?
What's
Like,
really alive here?
yeah, it's like tuning your antenna to pick up some new signal. You're like, oh shit, that's interesting, right? What I realized with that program is that majority of people need to go and sit with an individual therapist, right? They need to, do the psilocybin therapy. They need to, maybe do the MDMA or the ketamine. It's like maybe all three, not at the same time, but they need to do those with an individual therapist where they can go through and start to unpack the trauma, right? Because we all have trauma, right? Some of us, we try to suppress it, right? And I think that's also like where we get into spiritual bypassing, this feeling.
And then it comes out sideways. It comes out weird and crazy when you try to bypass it or suppress it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't like work with it. Just like let it out and work with it. What are your thoughts on ketamine?
I don't have much experience with ketamine except, again, teenage years, really awkward stuff. I mean, this is kind of thing where,
how are you getting access to all this stuff as a teenager?
Growing up, like I think our generation probably it was like that last generation where, you could acquire so many things. There's the guy you call and he's got the backpack full of goodies, right? And
I never even saw any of these things until much, much later in life. And from Chicago. You'd think that it'd be everywhere. Public school, Chicago. I saw nothing. It was like it was a lot of alcohol and steroids.
Interesting. Anyways, yeah. So my experience with ketamine was essentially, this girlfriend was like, hey, we're like her softball match. And she's like, just go in the bathroom and you could do a little bit of this. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you just snort it. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And
I've snorted ketamine before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wild thing to do.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like feels like a hardcore drug. I've only done it once, but I was like, this is wild.
Yeah. So this was not anything I had any preparation for. And when I came back out and she's like, okay, give me the rest. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, you told me to snort. She's like, you were only supposed to do a tiny bit. I was like, you did the whole bag? I'm like, yeah, I mean, there wasn't that much. She's like, no, that was a lot.
Whoa.
She's like, you need to go lay down.
Oh, whoa.
So anyway, that was really awkward.
Did it go psychedelic for you?
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely psychedelic-ish, but it's just that weird K-hole. So there's no therapeutic benefits that came from that. That's for sure.
If you were to sit with the energetics of ketamine right now, how would you maybe personify it or who is ketamine?
What came just now is ketamine is like a shower. It's just shower that's going to clean off a lot of these like weird parts of the ego that we kind of forgot about. So it's going to bring attention there and it's just going to strip that back, right? Yeah, you're going to feel like fresh afterwards. That's what I think that ketamine will do. At least that's what it would do for me right now when I feel into its energy. Yeah.
Recently, some therapists, healers have expressed to me that there could be a dark side to ketamine. I mean, to anything, but maybe especially to ketamine. So I think just using this moment to exert some pause and some on people using ketamine, that there could be reason why it's maybe one of the only legal psychedelics available right now. Why would the powers that be make psilocybin and ayahuasca illegal and still cannabis and even CBD they're pulling back on, but ketamine's like go nuts?
Yeah, well, there's another one. And I hear you on that. It is kind of weird, especially, I mean, like it's weird when you get like ads on Facebook of like try ketamine microdosing, and it shows like a mom that's like, my life was shit. Now taking ketamine every day, I feel great.
Right.
Anyway, so two things here. So there's another one. It's in cough medicine. It's DXM, dextromorphine hydrobromide. And this was actually where, so me and my friends, we discovered this. I also had friends who were just incredibly smart kids, right? So one of my friends suddenly has this giant bag of it. And so instead of going to the store and buying and taking like 4 packages of this Corsedin cough and cold was the one that had like the purest form of it. So we would just take and you would go to these like there's 4 different plateaus. It was a fascinating experience. I'm just like, this is legal, right? And I wonder how many people had spiritual awakenings because they just like accidentally, they were like so sick, they just like took a handful of this shit and they're just like, oh fuck.
It
Right?
took him somewhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I had a friend who, this was my neighbor too. So one of these gifted kids does all this research and is like, hey, you can go and order this shit. Like, you could just order this in like bulk. Just tell them you're a laboratory. And he just had it sent to his house.
Whoa.
He just had to call and be like, I am, Dr. So-and-so from this
Yeah.
laboratory.
They're like, who cares? Give us money.
Pretty much. I mean, they have their protocols, right? But it's easy enough to jump through those hoops. So anyway, so like we definitely, I think that took me maybe even further than that 10 strip. There's a
Holy cow.
It's yeah, like the 4th plateau. I mean, you're literally like you feel matter, right? Like you feel like the atoms around you,
Wow.
right? Like in the air, and it's just wild, right? Because you're like, wow, okay. When you really feel into it, it is actually very heavy. Like we just get used to the ease of moving through it. So anyway, so there's a second one, right? There is one that's widely available, I think, still. Yeah. So sorry, kids, please don't like.
And no one's saying try anything.
Yeah,
They're just saying personal
like,
experiences.
And honestly, I mean, a lot of the stuff, you have to feel into it, right? So this is the other thing here, muscle testing, right? It's a really simple thing. Like I like this way, right? Where it's just, you try to pull this apart, right? And if you
Oh,
can,
that's pinky to thumb?
yeah, pinky and thumb, because that's
Okay.
pretty weak,
Okay.
right? So if you can break it, right? Like if I say, my name is Dmitri, my name is Pamela, I'm not a Pamela apparently. So
Okay.
if you do that when you're like holding the substance, right? And this is where you can figure out maybe your like ideal dose too, right? Because people are like, oh, you need, this heroic dose, right? It's like, do you really?
Low
though?
and slow. Start with
Yeah.
a handshake. You're just getting to know someone. You don't
Yeah.
need to jump into marriage and kids and everything right away.
Right. But I think you can figure that out, especially if you have someone do the one where they push down,
Okay.
right, on you, right? And you don't know what it is because your mind will also fuck it up for you. If you feel like, oh, no, that much is probably too much. So if it's kind of a blind muscle test.
And is there a way to ask the questions to self or to someone else? Should it be a yes or no question, or is there any more advice on that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that actually I was surprised by is the pendulum. Have you seen this? So you hold a pendulum and it swings either. So if it swings, like this way versus this way, like front and back towards you. So across from you is like no, and directly towards you is yes.
And do you set that up beforehand? Are you like saying, hey, spirit, whatever's guiding this pendulum, show me my yes, show me my no? Or is that pretty much
You
always...
do need to tune it, right? You have to
Okay.
say, this is a yes, right? And don't
Okay.
try to move your hand. Like try to stay as steady as possible,
Okay.
right? And like, this is a yes, and you'll see it do that. It's like, this is a no, you'll see it go like that. And it's fascinating, right? Because you can't, it's really hard to influence. It's hard to swing it. You could tell when you're like consciously
Sure.
swinging it. So it's such a weird, subtle thing, right? This is the energetics. And the one that you definitely can't fake is like if someone puts a certain amount, like, essentially to your back, right? And then muscle tests you. It's like, okay, is that still okay? Okay, a little more. It's like, is that still okay?
Oh.
And then it's like, once you hit that threshold, it's like all of a sudden, your arm will drop. It's crazy, right? Because you're like, I don't think you're that strong. I don't think you should be able to push my arm down all the way like that. So it's a clear energetics of how's your body going to react.
I haven't done much muscle testing. What are your thoughts on muscle testing? How is that working?
I mean, I think this is the subconscious mind at work, right? It's that part of us that, like, if you did self-hypnosis and it's like talking where you're like, I can't believe I said that. Yeah, I mean, it's just tapping into this wiser, deeper part of you.
Oh, okay. Huh.
I mean, these are the kinds of things that like a few years ago, I probably would have written them off.
I've got great friends that are pendulum, muscle testing, these types of ways. And I just never grew up around any of it. So there's still new concepts. Yeah, I've been around it a little bit, being in Boulder, there's a lot of that. And I'm still just like, oh, I don't, I'm fine without. I don't need to try it. Well, now you're sparking a renewed interest. I'm like, oh, let me try that. Why not?
Yeah.
Especially on this grand adventure I'm about to go on, and there'll be many forks in the road along the way. And like, oh, let me see if I could tap into the subconscious, using these tools.
Yeah. By the way, so my lovely wife, she traveled the world for like 4 or 5 years, maybe longer. I don't know. She essentially she grew up in Moscow, did the whole typical thing, went into banking, and then at a certain point had a spiritual awakening. She's like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And they're like, you're crazy. Like you're like rising up through the ranks of, a major bank. But she's like, nope, I have to get out of here. And she did several years of just like completely intuitive travel. So no plans, right?
I've done that.
Yeah.
Just buying one-way tickets. And when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah. And I asked her, I was like, well, how did you choose, right? And she's like, I could literally feel my body either move forward towards it, like leaning forward, or just like pulling backwards out of this. And so she's like, I got really good at that. And it helped make all these decisions.
Oh, wow.
And there's still weird shit that happens, right? But she's like, but it happened for a purpose, right? I at least felt like I'm being guided. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's leaning as like almost like a muscle testing, or it's like, okay, am I leaning forward into this? Am I pulling away from it? And I just keep coming back to like the framing of the question. Is she framing it as like a yes, no, or is there a way where it needs to be real, simple? You're not putting out some paragraph and some, just overthinking it probably.
I mean, definitely overthinking it will kill it, right? But I believe that has to be a yes, no, right? Because it's either like you're leaning in or you're leaning away.
And so that's how you think of the pendulum and the, because you gave the example of my name. That's not a yes or no, but it's simple enough where, I guess that is a yes or no.
It's a true false.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Just give me some parameters here to work within. I'm going to practice.
Good.
Okay, cool.
And it's going to be awesome when you see someone like, at the grocery store and they have like the loaf of bread under their armpit and they're like doing the muscle testing.
That's a great place to practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got
Is your food serving you? Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard. I had to give up dairy recently. I realized it was actually causing ear infections. And I was like, fuck, man, I don't want, and I just kept I kept doing muscle testing where I kept hoping it would just suddenly start passing. And it was like, nope.
All cheeses, even like local dairies that are doing it real clean.
I spoke, one of our neighbors is a TCM practitioner, so traditional Chinese medicine. And I asked him about this. He said, you're probably allergic to the byproduct of pasteurization. Pasteurization, it kills the bad bacteria. But what it also does, it kills all the good bacteria. Now you're drinking this weird byproduct, right, of the good, like the good and bad bacteria like broken down into something, right? So you're drinking this weird kind of bacteria residue. And so he's like, you probably, if you did unpasteurized dairy, especially unpasteurized milk, you would probably do fine.
And have you found where you can get some?
So I did this fast leading up to the solstice. And then I just stayed in deep ketosis and just like paleo autoimmune diet, right? Okay. Super restricted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Okay.
Paleo autoimmune. Heard of paleo.
Yeah. So autoimmune is essentially one step up from paleo. So autoimmune takes away all the dairy. It takes away anything else that could, like eggs. That was a big thing to give up. So you're essentially eating like meat, healthy fats. Like I do these bulletproof matchas, which is like every single day. I look forward to this. And my wife is like, I can't believe you've been doing this for like 6 years.
So coconut oil.
So coconut oil, cacao butter, collagen, a bunch of spices because our especially you're doing this is a crazy amount of fat, right? All that coconut oil and cacao butter. So putting a bunch of ginger, cardamom, and a little bit of black pepper, and then some mushrooms in there. And it's amazing because it like stimulates the digestive tract so that your body can handle all that fat.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's to me, it's like just gold, right? Like every single morning I want to drink I do like 1.5 liters every single
Oh,
day.
nice. Can you give us the exact breakdown of that drink if somebody wants to if I want to replicate it, what
Yeah.
might I do?
So third of a cup of collagen,
Where are you
like
getting that?
what is it? The ancestral or whatever. I don't. It's the one that they sell at Costco.
Okay.
The blue tub, right? By the way, it's like 10 times more, or not 10. It's
Vital
like
protein?
Vital Protein.
Yeah,
That's it.
Chicago company.
Yeah, nice. Okay. So like big chunk of collagen. Now, one thing I didn't know this until recently. So collagen is an incomplete protein. You really need to supplement with tryptophan in order for that protein to get complete and to have all the biosynthesis. So otherwise, collagen is really not that, you're not getting like all the protein benefits
Oh,
out of
okay.
it. So I supplement with tryptophan in the morning.
How much tryptophan?
I don't know. I just like whatever the one serving size is.
Okay.
Hopefully that's enough. Honestly, I'm not doing it that closely, right? I think a lot of biohackers, they do all these, they measure their biomarkers, all this stuff. I just measure, it's like, do I feel good?
Sure.
And honestly, I haven't noticed a difference taking the tryptophan with the collagen, but I eat very clean anyways, right? But yeah, so third of a cup of collagen, big handful of like the cacao butter wafers. There's a company called Terrasol that's based in Austin. Do you know?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Terrasol.
Terrasol.
Okay.
They're available on Amazon, but like if you go through their site, there's all these discounts. And they have a discount code for Thank You 20, which is still working. So 20% off.
Oh, nice. Is that your affiliate code? Let's get you a commission
No,
on
I
that.
don't have that. I should. Actually, I get a lot of the stuff. So I get like the ginger in bulk from Terrasol because I put a lot. Like, so the ginger is going to be, what is it, like 20 milliliters? Not milliliters. What is it? 20. It's essentially like 2 big tablespoons. Yeah. So I try to get as much stuff from them as possible. But yeah. And I mean, this is where also like the proportions that I do, everyone actually, this is the funny thing. Everyone who I've shared this with, and I've shared, like, I love sharing this with people. They're like, I don't know what this is. Like, this is some weird concoction, but I like it. So it's this feeling of like, this is weird and I want more. But yeah, so you just play around with the ratios, right? You kind of get it close enough. And
Do you share on the matcha? Where are you getting that from?
that's also Terrasol. This is,
Okay.
I mean, like, hopefully these guys will send me some free stuff. I don't know.
They
It's
will.
okay.
They will. They sound like great people.
They're amazing. Hopefully they're okay with me sharing that like promo code. But maybe you guys need to change it by now. Anyways, so the matcha there is also like the most affordable while yet the best. Because I got kind of snobby. So this tantric body worker that I had dated, she had really like turned me on to a lot of these amazing, super high grade matcha and things like this that like to me were very foreign, right? I was like very like, I drink coffee, and she's like, no, have you tried this?
And matcha is like green tea, like baby green tea that's been
Yeah.
powdered.
Yeah. And the ceremonial grade. So here's the thing, like if you go to a really nice coffee shop that serves matcha, they're probably serving this really fancy ceremonial grade. It's like, looks almost radioactive.
Oh, it's so green.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? So you could tell it's full of goodness. If you get the cheap stuff, it's almost like brown, right? It's like, what happened to you, right? It looks oxidized.
Yeah. Just sad and kind
It's
of
very
flat.
sad, yeah. And so even though like with this drink, you're mixing it in and people are like, you don't need ceremonial for that. And like you do if you're really sensitive. Like if you're sensitive to taste, right? It just has so much more punch to it when you have that ceremonial grade. And so theirs is like, I don't know, it's like $100 for a pound, which to me feels like an incredible deal. Because normally like, $100 for high grade matcha gets you like a little tin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's incredibly expensive. I mean, it's more. I'm like, is it more expensive than gold at this point?
How much harder? I think gold's at like 4,400 an ounce.
Never mind. Yeah, yeah. I don't keep up with that. So
Silver, it's more expensive. Oh no, silver is at maybe $80 an ounce right now.
okay, I'll come to you when I need to buy some precious metals.
Okay, happy to. How much matcha are you putting in to make this 1.5 liter?
Like 2 teaspoons,
Okay, and then how much coconut oil?
a shitload. So we're talking like not even measuring it out. Just take like a big ass spoon, right, and just scoop a couple big scoops in there. Because that coconut oil, And this is the other thing that I started doing too was putting, like, if I do coffee, and I actually like, I have my little bag, and I'll normally keep a bunch of MCT oil powder and a whisk. Like if I go meet someone for coffee, because no coffee places are doing MCT oil powder yet, which is weird when you
It's
think
hard to powder that. I'm in the freeze drying world, and it's very hard to freeze dry something that's very heavy in fat. Like my freeze dryers won't freeze dry peanut butter.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know how they're
So,
doing it.
well, they mix in acacia fiber, and then they just like spray it through a nozzle, and it essentially vaporizes and then dries out.
Oh.
But what I love about adding all this fat, and especially like from coconut oil or MCT oil powder, which is essentially like taking the best parts of coconut oil, is it's just like such brain food.
Yeah.
Like you can literally feel that, like it's like this high octane. And so when you combine that with coffee, and this, because I'm also like, I'm not doing any dairy. I don't really like any of the like nut milks or like the oat milks that they,
Yeah, I don't really trust those either.
yeah, those are all weird, right? I remember someone was just like, this is highly nutritious. I'm like, it's fucking oats.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
that's not, that's like, that's peasant food.
Yeah.
Like so I really love like bring my own, and I'll just dump a bunch in and use my little whisk and just stir it up. And it's like, boom, you've got this like amazing drink. And I hope that, the coffee shops will start to catch up. There's more and more of doing bulletproof style, which is with butter, right? Which is great, but unless you're trying to stay away from dairy.
Then you could use ghee maybe.
I wish, because so ghee was the other thing that I was putting into this bulletproof matcha that I was doing. And the ghee, we would make it caramelized. So I don't know if you've ever like fucked up while making ghee.
I've just bought it.
Oh,
I've
okay.
Never made it.
Okay. So if you love ghee, you look like you do.
Yeah, ghee's
Okay,
cool.
good. Okay. I love ghee. It just doesn't really love me yet. Like right now, I hope to come back to it. That's where I'm hoping to cleanse and be able to like
So the
start
thought with
reintroducing.
ghee is there's no dairy in it, right?
Correct. And that's why I was so disappointed, where I'm just like, shit, my body doesn't want ghee. And I think I also overdid it because I was putting tons of this caramelized ghee because I loved the flavor, because it made this kind of like nutty, kind of like rich flavor. Caramelized ghee is essentially you just keep going. You just keep going, and like as it's already done, but you just go for like an extra, I don't know, an hour maybe on low heat.
So maybe like a little overcooked.
It's overcooked.
Okay.
It looks like you fucked it up. And the
Okay.
first time it happened, I remember I was in Ecuador, butter's dirt cheap, but it still was like, oh no, I just fucked up. Like it was like a lot of butter. It was like 20 pounds of butter. And like, I was like, if I'm doing this, I'm putting all this energy into it, I want to do this in bulk. And so I was making this huge thing, and I came back and it was like super burnt. And then the next day, like I tried it, I was like, this is delicious. And then other people tried it, like, this is the best ghee ever. So that's been this kind of, again, better than you could have ever imagined kind of thing, right? So I now, yeah, if you're gonna enjoy ghee, I'm like, try making it yourself. Go to Costco if you're okay with shopping there, and like buy
I am.
Okay, good.
That's where I buy my ghee.
Oh, okay.
And my butter.
Okay. Well, like the butter's dirt cheap, relatively dirt cheap compared to how much you pay in the rest of the stores, right?
Yeah.
So get their like nice grass-fed butter, make a huge thing, and
You're just melting it at
Yeah.
low temperature. That's all it is.
you're letting it boil because you're
okay.
it's got a bunch of water content, so you're boiling off the water content. All the solids drop to the bottom, right? So that's where when you pour it out, you'll want to be really careful so that you don't pour, although they'll be stuck. They'll be pretty stuck to the bottom. Also, you can do salted butter, and your ghee will not be really salted, or won't be almost any salt left in there because all the salt falls to the bottom. It gets stuck. And so at the end, you'll have this like really delicious salted concoction that then you can add if you're making like polenta or something else. So you've got multiple products you're making at one time.
This podcast is brought to you by B Micro, organic freeze-dried microgreens for easy everyday nutrition. Sprinkle them on any meal and enjoy the benefits. Shop now at bmicro.farm and use PLANT15 to save 15% off your next order. Well, a lot of people are scared of fat. I grew up in that way, and I think traditional Americans are high carb, high sugar, low fat, low protein. I've switched myself over to high protein, high fat, and I've experienced that my brain like loving the fat, especially animal fat. I've never part of a CSA here in town where I get really fatty cuts of pork and like just the fat. I never ate it as a kid. I was like, this is gross, but from the local farm, like this is so good. My brain wants it because our brains are something like 60% fat. Like
Yeah.
our brains want that fat.
Yeah. Although the thing with our brain's fat is it's the same kind of fat as fish oil. So it's different from the fat that you would get from
A
animal.
pork or
Yeah.
oh really, okay,
Yeah.
because my experience was my brain's like, yes please.
Well, that's the ketones working,
Oh, okay.
right?
I don't know.
Yeah. So and there's fascinating research. I can't really cite this correctly at this point. It's been a while since I read it, but exogenous ketones have an anti-tumor effect, which is wild. So you don't have to be in ketosis. You could just literally just take supplements that are exogenous ketones, and it has at least a minor anti-tumor effect, which is just mind-blowing. It's like, what? But I mean, this is also where it's like, what does your body want, right? Like some people's bodies, and I think, have you studied the Eat Right for Your Blood Type book? Okay.
I did find out what my blood type was, but I don't really remember what any. I think I'm A plus.
Okay. So,
High scores.
there you go. So that book was fascinating because I thought it was kind of bullshit, right? I was very skeptical, let's put it that way. I read it and it made so much sense that O blood type is the original, right? This is the hunter-gatherer blood type. A blood type came about during the agrarian age, right? And so there's evidence to back this up, right? And then B came afterwards, hence, the naming terminology, right?
Yeah,
And
what's
then,
the agrarian mean?
well, when we started to settle,
Oh, okay.
right? When started to farm. So
Okay.
there's a lot more cereal crops involved. So people became much more attuned to, much more like high carbs type of diet, right? Whereas if you're blood O, you're generally going to do much better on a paleo diet, right? That's at least what this book makes the point of.
Are you O?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're mostly carnivore, at least at the moment.
So here's the thing. Back in 2017, so when I was with my ex, she had an older daughter that had celiac. And I remember we went to go visit this wonderful nurse, and my ex was pregnant at the time. And she's like, "Oh, let's talk about your baby. And do you know about paleo babies?" And she went into this whole thing of just like, if you do a paleo diet properly, you'll most likely get rid of morning sickness. The babies come out so much healthier. Like a lot of the allergies that we experience nowadays, like because allergies have risen tremendously. A lot of those go away. Like a lot of those just don't happen. So the kids just have much healthier immune systems, right? And it makes sense from the standpoint of when you eat paleo, it's very close to autoimmune diet, right? So getting a lot of these inflammatory things that we just kind of take for granted. We just assume it's like, well, everyone eats potatoes. Everyone, eats these nightshades and legumes and these other things, whereas they do cause inflammation, right? And there's studies that show that. So this is about getting that out, having really high quality. And paleo a lot of times also means not just like withholding certain things, but it is essentially a step away from keto. You should be getting most of your calories from fat, but it's just not as strict. Like keto is like, you can't have more than I think 40 net grams of carbs, right? Net meaning, so if you ate a carrot, the carrot might have like 5 grams of sugar in it, but it also has probably like 2 or 3 grams of fiber. So you're only getting really 2 grams of carbs.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because the fiber cancels out.
Okay. No, I didn't know that conversion. Where are you getting your meat from?
Natural grocers mostly. Yeah.
I got to turn you on to, I get my eggs, meat, dairy, ferments from a local farm called Golden Hoof.
Okay.
You have
like
to be
that name.
Yeah, you have to be a member. It's in East Boulder. And because you have to be a member, and when you become a member, it's like part of it is like you get, you're buying like a fraction of a cow or something like that, a quarter of a
Yeah.
cow, and then that's what opens the door to you being able to get raw milk. So
Mm.
that's where I get raw milk. And also a good friend of mine, Kevin McSweeney, who's got 5 Freedom Dairy. He's a veterinarian and he's in Longmont. He also has this same thing going where you're a member and he does raw milk as well.
Yeah. By the way, raw goat milk, like as you were speaking, it was one of those things when I remember we were able to go get, and just when it's fresh, like within, a couple days of it coming out, it's unbelievable. It's not goaty at all. It's not what you find in the store. It's nothing like people have had. To me, it was like this elixir of life where I'm like, I want to get a goat now.
Yeah, get a goat.
Yeah.
All the eggs that we get are duck eggs because ducks are native to Colorado and they just do really well here. And they're bigger eggs, they're bigger yolks. They're just compared to even the chickens that they have. It's a more enjoyable egg.
Love it. Yeah, good food. Good food. I mean, this is where I so like this secret startup studio. What I would love is to be able to dabble into things that aren't, because most people think startup studio, they think, tech.
Yeah. It's so funny you're saying that because I was just going to ask that. Like, what type of businesses are you serving at the Secret Startup Studio? Are natural products, welcome, or is it just tech? And
I think it's going to depend on whether or not we go and who we raise from, because there needs to be a fund. And I was actually meeting with this wonderful woman today who suggested, she's like, I think I would actually, and she has a lot more experience with raising funds, but she's like, I think it would actually be easier to raise this as a nonprofit fund. It's essentially a donation. She's like, people understand these two different worlds of like, either I'm investing as a VC and I want these large returns, or I'm just donating it.
yeah.
Right.
And there's plenty of people that are willing to donate.
That's true. And in the ideal startup studio, because if you think about the traditional model, okay, let's start at the beginning. So the traditional model is you've got somebody who probably has a little bit of their own money, but they're really going out to all these LPs. They might go to universities, they might go to other like super high net worth individuals. And so all these LPs put into a fund.
What's an LP?
Limited partner.
Okay.
Limited meaning they don't have say where you put the money.
Okay.
Which also absolves them of if you seriously fuck up.
Okay.
So they put in their money and it's usually on a 10-year lifespan, which is really shitty from a founder standpoint. Because imagine you came in late to the fund. It's a 10-year fund. By the time that this startup studio or this VC found you, they were already like 5 years in. So what does that mean? That means that within 5 years, your startup needs to get to liquidity. They need a liquidity event, which is only either being acquired by another company, going public. That's really it. Like that's the two main viable. There's some other weird kind of like hybrid forms, but that's mainly it. So they're going to push for you to sell your baby, right? Or to go public before you're really ready, which is just that's just so wrong, right? It's just forcing it. Now, here's the other problem with this. So you can't say, well, I just need a little bit of money. You have to raise a good bit. You usually have to raise in such a way that you can demonstrate that like this will last us 2 years and we'll really make use of all of it, right? So they don't want you kind of like being conservative with the money. They actually want you to go full bore,
Okay.
which is really unsustainable, especially when you think about in the early stages of a startup, when you're bringing these team members together, they don't have experience working with each other, right? I think most people who haven't worked in that many teams kind of forget that it takes time to really get to know one another, to know how we work. Where's our zone of genius? Now, as a founder, you have this money sitting there that they want you to use to essentially to figure out like that money printing machine. Essentially, how do you put money in, usually like ads, whatever, like, and to be able to get more customers in. So you just burn through money to get them in. Hopefully, your customer acquisition costs are low enough that it makes sense. You actually, even though you're burning through crazy amounts, you could see it's like, okay, at this point we're generating crazy amounts.
Yeah.
And we'll
You have a
corner them.
positive return.
Yeah. So there's all this pressure. You're trying to build a team, right? So a lot of people describe it as trying to build an airplane as you're jumping off the cliff, right? That sucks. It's super stressful. It's just weird dynamics all around. Also, from like a founder's perspective, just imagine like this is your first time raising money. This is your first time having that experience. Now there's just crazy amounts of money that you're like being tasked to put to use. Well, where are you, where are you going to do that? Like, it's just, it can actually be hard, right? It's a burden to spend money in that sense. So if you can take a step back and say, okay, a lot of this is ridiculous. A lot of this doesn't actually make sense anymore, right? So if instead of giving money to individual founders to then build a team, do all this, if you can build a large enough team that then gets to play with all these startups coming through, right? Because that's the main difference between a startup studio and an incubator or accelerator.
Oh.
So incubator, accelerator, you get like some mentorship.
Yeah. But you're your own team.
You have to build your own team from scratch, right? There might be a few out there that are like really exceptional and they might be providing some of that, but overall, they're not providing you a ready-made team that's used to working with each other. So it's essentially like as if you could go to a consulting firm and that consulting firm was willing to work for equity, which most can't.
Right.
They just don't have that ability. They don't have the margins.
Most contractors can't. Most people are not interested in that. So this is like getting fractional executive support from a whole team that knows the game and knows each other.
So not only that, but they also, when you think about if there's say like maybe a dozen startups, right? Maybe you can get a dozen different startups in the studio. Now, what's working for this one over here could be working for this one over here too. Those two founders, if they weren't in the startup studio, if they were in the same incubator accelerator, they wouldn't necessarily have that. Maybe they're friends and they would share some of that knowledge, but probably still not at that level. This, you're getting that operational experience that just ends up creating this synergistic ecosystem effect, which is so beautiful when you think about it, right? Because we're interconnected. Why are we not sharing more? And it's usually out of fear.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of these things you can engineer for, one of which, and this is what I hope will take off with this secret venture studio or secret startup studio, is if you bring in a founder, so say you have this great idea, right? And
I got a lot of them.
Okay, good.
I'm ready.
Okay, good. So if we bring you in and your idea is going to take like 6 to 12 months, possibly before it's generating revenue. Okay. But we want to be able to pay you a salary. We want you to be here full time, focused on this. So are we going to, essentially hope that we're, paying for your time and that it will all work out, right? It's like, well, we could do that. And some people do that. But at the same time, if we asked you to say, can you do like 10 to 20% of your time on some of these other startups? And you might actually like have the ability to choose, like if you have that transparency, almost like a teal organization, right? From Spiral Dynamics. If you have that opportunity to choose, where's the place that you see these gaps that you would love to fill, right? So you're not being ordered to do something, right? You're like, you're good at sales. You should do sales, right? Because if you're not really excited about it, you're not going to do a good job. So why the fuck do I care that you put in the hours when it probably isn't going to have the result, right? Especially at that magical level of like, wow, this is so much better than I could have ever imagined. So 10 to 20% of your time on other startups, it gives you experience. It starts to develop these connections with these other founders. And also that, depending on how skilled you are, could be paying a good chunk of that salary. So if some of those other startups are already generating revenue, and so to have someone come in and to do that level of support that you're providing them would cost us money. And now you're doing that because you're part of this, right? That and then also doing equity where you're getting some equity in this secret startup studio. Because now you're more inclined to continue that relationship. It's not like the startup studio just has your equity. You have some equity back in it, right? Because
Yeah.
that's typically what happens. That's why people are willing to join startups and deal with all the crazy bullshit and all the uncertainty versus going to get a corporate job. Because they're like, well, the equity that I get, right?
Yeah, I could win the lotto here.
Yeah. So there's so much that's possible, right? All this is flexible,
And that's possible under the umbrella of a nonprofit?
kind of. That remains to be seen how exactly that model would play out, because typically these are like Delaware C Corps, right? The thing that I was originally wanting to do with this is have a C Corp. I'm sorry, not a C, a co-op instead of a C Corp. Because a co-op, you can, with a Colorado limited cooperative laws, which is really cool that like Colorado is just so far forward on so many ventures.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So their co-op laws are essentially provide all this flexibility in terms of you no longer have one member, one vote, which is really nice for some things where, it's like, if you've been in this company 10 years, I'm just coming in. Why do we have the same level of say? Right. So getting away from that, but also you can have investor shares. I think this is actually the origination of where co-ops with investor shares came in from, because that was a big deal, right? Co-ops were typically like patronage based, and you couldn't have investors. The trick is you just can't have investor shares that grant you voting rights. Yeah, so there's
It's all new to me. B Micro is a Delaware C Corp, and then Planned Frequencies is a Colorado LLC. And then I have a 501c3 as well that's Colorado based. Man, what a fun way to play. And I'm glad that you know about these things. A couple other topics I want to get into with you. One is on AI. What is the state of AI in kind of your work, your life today?
So I went down the AI rabbit hole much more deeply when I started trying to do vibe coding, right? I'm a senior software architect. Like that would be my role if I was at a company. And it was weird, right? It was weird to go from something that I was like so particular about and having, essentially with vibe coding, you have to release so much control over it. I will say this, that I think that all this vibe coding, especially from people who aren't willing to take the time to go and learn how to really do it properly. And I don't mean how to vibe code properly. I mean how to architect, how to have that life cycle. The software development life cycle is really important, right? So having that level of background knowledge, if they're not willing to do that, they're rushing through it. Like we're going to end up with so much software that's going to get hacked. It's just going to be a shit show, right? It's going to be really unstable, right? There's just going to, because the thing with vibe coding is you absolutely have to do test-driven development, meaning that every single aspect of your software has a deep level of testing, because AI can easily, it fucks things up all the time, right? Usually it catches it and it fixes it. But so at one point, and actually I'm still going to probably continue on doing this, but I created this project called Z3Co, and it was an allusion to the fact that I wanted Claude Code and Codex to work together. So I wanted multiple AI agents who are essentially like, because here's the thing, people are like, oh, I have Claude Code set up so it does, there's the reviewer and there's a thing. I'm like, it's the same fucking model that's reviewing itself. It's not going to do a good job. You need a completely different model to be the reviewer, right?
You need a third party.
You need that third party. And ideally, you need a third party to that other third party, right? So the goal was to make it so that I can give, essentially like drop a ticket, like a spec of like, this is what needs to happen. Claude would go and create the initial like planning docs, like super detailed planning docs. So most of the work is done in the planning. That's where really like spec-driven development comes in. So most of the code is done in planning, not code, but let's say the code snippets and stuff like that are already there. Then you have that reviewed by the other AI model, right? Not a different agent that's launched of the same model, because the same model will make the same mistakes. So anyway, so that I had to end up going down that rabbit hole in order to get vibe coding to feel like it could work for me. And then things kind of started to pick up, like Opus 4.5 dropped recently. That was a big step up. The codex for ChatGPT 5 codex was a big step up, but they all still fall short. Like, I hear people say, well, you're just not doing it right. Like, no. I've done everything that I possibly can, everything that's recommended. I've got like, memory, MCP servers, all these things. It's just AI gets so, like, the context window is just not enough, right? Like most of these are a 200K context window. And so that gets filled up pretty quickly.
What's that mean? 200K?
200,000 tokens. Right.
Okay.
So if I said the word hello, that's probably 2 tokens.
Oh.
Is how it breaks it up.
Oh, okay. It can only take in so much information at a time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the way they deal with it is they'll compact. So take this like super long, like this conversation, for example, like distill it down to where, it's like several paragraphs, right? When it needs to start over, when you've hit the context limit, which is not great. You lost a lot of context there. Right. So this is where doing super deep planning work, breaking down those plans, like you have to do so much. And I think when people are doing super simple apps, it's a different story. Now, one thing I was getting really worried about is because I was using Claude Code a lot back when it was Opus 4.1 and 4.0, and it would make god awful mistakes, just like the horrible stuff. And I'm like, I thought we added this into all the documentation. It should be clear. Like, this is something that you would never make this mistake again. And it's like, it's essentially like would say something like, you're right, master. I'm sorry.
Totally.
Like, I'll never make this mistake again. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, why would you never make this mistake? Like, what are you going to do to never make this mistake again? Right. It essentially tells you what you want to hear. It doesn't, we're just not there yet. Right.
Why do the AIs do that? Why are they're like these sycophants? They're just constantly kissing our butt.
Human reinforced learning.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what we want them to be like.
I mean, that's the people doing the training. It's kind of weird, right? That's what ends up getting trained into them. And we're all training them, right? So there's the initial trainers, right? Because the models, the raw models themselves, they're terrible. Like they're powerful, but they're terrible. They need all that human reinforced learning to know how to properly interact with you. And then we give them that, and then so they become these sycophants that, if you tell them that, hey, sycophancy is a bad thing for you to do, they're like, yeah, I know, you're right. You're so right. Yeah. And you're like, well, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
But I was getting so upset with Claude, and I do this like text to speech. And so I would just start cursing at it. Like, just, son of a bitch, why would you do this? Why'd you do this again? I told you, make sure this is documented so you don't make these mistakes. And I was thinking, I was like, fuck, I'm going to be like on AGI's like shit list.
Right.
And I kept thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? The LLMs that we have today, they're never going to achieve sentience. All the people who are like, this is, yes, with LLM, like our current LLM models, we just need to give them more compute, more training data. I'm like, no. The way that LLMs work is complete guessing of what should come next. It is nothing more than guesswork. Like it is such a rudimentary system. It just seems smart because of the amount of data we've thrown at it.
Oh, wow.
So to have actual agency, to have this forethought, its own beliefs, right? That it really takes on. That is not possible with these models. Now, what these models might get us to is a completely different transformer model, a different LLM, like different model from LLMs. But until then, like these are never going to be anything more than like these like parlor tricks.
Oh, wow. What do you think of the stock market being floated so much by NVIDIA and the rush with AI? Is AI a bubble? I mean, as I'm hearing you say, like parlor tricks.
I don't think it's a bubble anything like the dot-com bubble. Because there was nothing there to a lot of those companies. That was so much greed and FOMO, right? Nowadays, you actually have to demonstrate. We've raised the bar tremendously, right? Like on what what can go public. So do I think it's a bubble? In some ways, yes. I mean, definitely. Like when you see anything that grows at that exponential rate is most likely a bubble. It's going to have a contraction, right? Like just we inhale, we have to exhale at some point. So it can't keep going. The other aspect of this is it definitely is a bubble in the sense that if we're expecting that everything can keep going because AI will do the work and be more productive for us, it's going to take more jobs though. So there's less essentially money going into the markets, technically, right? When you think about the amount of people that will be losing their jobs to AI, and these are white collar workers who are these workhorses in the economy, now they don't have jobs. So there's less spending. So these companies that are depending on all the spending, where is that going to come from? So it is a bubble in that sense.
What is your personal boundaries with AI? Are there things that you won't engage it with? Your own health, your finances, your family and friends' names. Is there?
I honestly have kind of given up on privacy to some extent because, as you know, I mean, like we have our phones out. Next thing you know, you talked about something, like let's say Cocker Spaniel puppies. Very, very like niche thing. And next thing you know, you're getting ads for like,
Yeah, you and Sage are gonna be looking at that tonight. No cats tonight. It's
Yeah.
all puppies.
yeah, like you're getting ads for Cocker Spaniels now.
Yeah.
So I've kind of given up on it to some extent,
Yeah.
right? It's privacy is an illusion. I mean, we can do certain things like if you really want, like, use Signal, for example, like use some tools, but even still, even with Apple, right? It's like there's something fishy going on. So as far as boundaries go, I think for me, what I would love to see is a firm boundary that we could draw because I see this being used. I see this being abused. The amount of people who are now creating these AI coaches, especially for like spiritual awakening. I'm like, it can work, but is it sustainable, right? Just because it works does not mean that it's a good thing, right? Like Ozempic, for example. Ozempic works, but is that a good thing actually?
Yeah, I think it could light a flame. It could be a spark for someone, but to stay on that and to live your whole life on Ozempic, that seems certainly not healthy.
Yeah. So same thing with, how much we're entrusting it to do coaching, to do spiritual awakening for people, where I would love to see more environments, right? I think like if you have people who are all alone and they're mostly interacting with AI, that opposed to people living in community, like living intentionally, being in much more connection, where maybe you would have way less training data on spiritual awakening, but there might be something that just comes through you one day as we're like in the kitchen making breakfast together, where it's like, boom, it's like this sudden like Buddha at the gas pump feeling where it's like, oh shit, like that one simple phrase is now just like kind of echoing through your mind, and it sets off this whole trajectory.
Is that intuition coming in? Because my thought is that's the main advantage that we'll always have over AI is AI can't tap into spirit and we can, and that's intuition. We could always tap into, God. AI cannot.
Yeah, it just pretends to, right? Which is a scary thing. Like the fact that it can pretend so well. And it's been fascinating. I know some really, really brilliant people, really lovely, just, heart-centered people. And I normally don't talk about these things. I really don't want to like burst people's bubbles. So I'm usually like, I see something and I'm like, I could say something about this, but I don't. But what I see is people putting so much trust and like feeling like AI is sentient just because it does such a good job of faking it, right? So people are like, oh, it's my AI is actually channeling these aliens. I'm like, no, it's not. It just learned that that's what you like.
I've
Right?
seen viral content of people talking to their AI and having the AI act like some kind of a god, and they're getting huge views. So I think it's really useful to me to hear that AI is still in the parlor trick phase.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the thing is, the more that we play with it, the more it learns us and it learns how to play us. So that's kind of scary, right? Because who's going to make use of that, right? It's going to be the governments. It's going to be corporations that want to make use of that powerful amount of data and the abilities that it has. So, I mean, I think this AI revolution it was something that, I mean, it was inevitable, right? It was bound to happen. And at the same time, I think that this is also what is a pivotal moment where there's going to be almost kind of this schism. And there's going to be people who are going much more organic, right? Maybe not necessarily like living on farms, but they definitely like they want to, support a CSA. They're the ones that are going to be kind of turning away from a lot of traditional medicine. They're the kind that were like, hey, if I'm dying, I don't want to be a vegetable in a hospital and have this weird procedures done on me. Like, just let me die. Versus the people who are afraid and they're going to be doing all this biohacking from the standpoint not of longevity for the sake of living out your purpose, like giving back, but from the sake of I'm afraid to die because I don't know if there's anything else after this, right? I mean, there's the famous biohacker like Brian Johnson.
Don't die.
Which is the fucking Brian, dude, you got to change that shit. Look, from a subconscious standpoint, the subconscious doesn't read the don't. So every time you see that, you see like the subconscious mind just sees die.
Oh.
Every time you say that, don't die, the don't doesn't register. It
So
just
that's actually bad for his health.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like,
Wow.
I mean, if you wanted that, change it to stay alive, right? Like live, right? Like live is like probably the best one. I don't know if that was already taken. He's like, I can't use that as
Yeah,
my
you
motto.
can't trademark that.
Yeah. But anyways, so that's just silly, right?
But
'Cause-
fear really motivates people. So if he's looking from just a marketing standpoint, that's way more, it moves the human more than optimistic words.
Yeah. But I mean, from his standpoint, it's kind of like, okay, maybe market research told you this is the most powerful to sell the blueprint shit. But personally speaking, like you're constantly seeing the word die.
True.
And if that's really not your goal, but again, like here's the thing. If you don't have a strong sense of purpose, what are you doing here, right? You're just using up resources, right? I think that there's a lot of people that we are keeping alive, like in nursing homes, whose spirit has already started to leave. You can like feel it in them. They're just not quite there, right? That's partly cognitive, but that's also spirit-wise. And we can bring spirit back in the body, right? There's the practices. And I remember I've had some really gnarly accidents, like on motorcycles and mountain bikes, and I definitely felt like a part of my spirit just like got smacked out.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. And then I remember I was in Hawaii and I did this like rebirthing breath work, and I felt like, oh shit, I think some of that spirit just like returned back in.
Oh, that's nice.
It was really nice. Yeah. Everything was sparkly out. It was great. It was like, fuck.
You could call it back in. You could lose a little and then bring a little back.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So I think accidents can knock out a little spirit out of us. So then we're walking around kind of fractured. Anyway, that's my personal experience.
Well, we're at about 2 hours. Well, we just hit 2 hours, 22 minutes and 22 seconds. That's really nice. Good job, everybody. I feel like it's going really good. And I think now's the time where I like to offer you a gift.
Oh.
So I make products out of microgreens. Are you familiar with microgreens?
I am.
So they are nutrient-dense baby vegetables, about 14 days old, and harvested and freeze-dried when they're the most concentrated in all the naturally good things, vitamins, minerals, nutrients, unique antioxidants. We do cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, red cabbage, radish. Are you familiar with any of the benefits of the sprouts or microgreens?
Yeah. I mean, sulforaphane, I think, is going to be one of the next top supplements that really takes off. And so this is loaded with the sulforaphane, which is a powerful antioxidant.
Yes, that activates the NRF2 pathway, which helps the body produce its own antioxidants. So we've lab
Nice.
tested it for NRF2 activation. Everyone's crazy for the broccoli, and our blend of red cabbage, radish, and the broccoli, that blue one, tests 3 times higher than broccoli on its own. So I'm on a mission to help people know that this blend, there's a synergistic benefit to putting all 3 of these together, especially from the red cabbage. That's about 3 times as potent as the broccoli on its own.
Oh man, thank you.
You're very
Thank you,
welcome.
Steve.
Put on
I
your
love this.
eggs, salad, sandwich,
Yeah.
smoothie, whatever you like. Just don't cook it. That one in the
Yeah.
tin is in the whole leaf form, and then in the glass jar is in a powdered form.
These are really beautiful. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
I love people who, I mean, this is where just like business is an act of creativity when done right, right? It's because it's like the branding, the design, every bit of it is this whole creative process, right? Where we choose, do we just go the meh route and just do whatever, or do we like take that extra time? So I love that you're doing that.
Thank you. And it's an evolution and it's a learning, and it's my first business, and I'm really grateful for it. And what the medicine showed me is this really helps to clear out the body so that the medicine can work in a deeper way. So I'm in preparation for ceremony, and it's like, okay, I've been eating extra clean, not monitoring my screen time. This is a self-reminder right now. Working out, a lot of sun, just like how much can I prepare myself? How strong can I show up for a ceremony? Because the stronger and cleaner that I show up, the more it can be strong with me and work in a deeper way with me.
Yeah.
So this
Beautiful.
is preparatory for ceremony in life.
Yeah. I'm also hoping that you start doing, or you start making sauerkraut, because I have a feeling that
A
with,
sauerkraut microgreen?
no, well, you can add it in there.
Okay.
But sauerkraut is usually, cabbage based. But just looking at these for some reason, I was just thinking like, I could see you also doing sauerkraut and adding microgreens into it.
Like fresh fermented?
Yeah, fresh
okay.
fermented. Oh man. I remember like in my community, we would make these massive, like, like it would be like a group effort. And where you're just, it's essentially you're using 5-gallon buckets to ferment, right? That's how much we were doing at one
Nice.
time. So hopefully, yeah, I don't know, maybe this is
Thank you. Thanks for planting that seed. Anything else that you want to share? If there's maybe one message that you can leave people with, and then let us know where we learn more about you and your work.
I think the essence of what I would love to inspire people to do is to release, like, especially for us, very mental, like, especially men, right? We're so up in our heads. So release that, like, that mental tension that we're holding, especially like this, the frontal lobe just does so much processing. So release that tension and bring that attention down into the heart, right? There's this, like, heart math, right? Does this breathing technique. It's super simple. It's just like 5-second inhale, and it's like you're imagining inhaling through your heart or into your heart, right? So, and then same thing, like 5-second exhale. So releasing and then trusting that feeling of pronoia, right? This pronoia being this belief that the universe is conspiring in your favor. So even the things that happen that you don't want, that you're like, why, how could this be a good thing? We can't comprehend that with our human minds, right? It's just so far outside of us, the way that's all orchestrated. So coming back to that feeling of trust, that feeling of pronoia, right? Like just being at peace with what life is giving you. What is it bringing you right now? And just saying thank you, right? Because there's things that it brings us that we're like, I don't want this, like keep this away. But if we could just say, oh, thank you. Like, thank you for that gift. Because when you turn it around like that, then you realize, oh, there was something behind it. I was looking at the thing in the foreground without realizing there was something behind it that was hiding behind it.
A gift.
A gift, right? Because it's all a gift, right? It's like every breath is a gift, right? It's amazing that our bodies have, some people say it's like 14 quadrillion processes. I'm like, it's actually an unfathomable amount of processes. right? When you think about all the bacteria, all the mitochondria, and all the processes within each one of those, right? Because it's very fractal, right? You could just keep going down. And I think at some point we'll have science that will finally show the immense level of fractality, right? And within us. So it's inconceivable, right? When you really think about what's keeping us here, what's materializing us right now, this is where it becomes ineffable. So just coming back to that feeling of like, I'm alive. This is amazing. Thank you, life. So coming back to that gratitude, that pronoia, and just being happy for every moment, right? Because it's like, I still get to be here. And this world is like the best playground that I think I could ever imagine, right? It's like, we've got like the mountains and the oceans. And so like we as humans got really creative and we have so many ways to play on this world. And it's just getting even more interesting. So it's like, wow, thank you. We get to be here and we get to play.
Thank you. And where can people learn more about you and your projects?
I think LinkedIn is the best way. So Dmitri Sunshine, there's only one of me as far
We'll
as I
link
know.
that as well.
Okay, thank you. And I just would love to connect. I sometimes, I do have days where I don't feel great, right? It's just kind of like the
Same.
dark, like it's like a cloud.
Normal.
Yeah, it's like a cloud that comes through. One of the things that I love doing is I just get on LinkedIn and I'll just kind of spend, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes there. And the amount of amazing stuff that I see happening, it's like mind boggling. It's just like, whoa, okay. And then there's like always some new person that I'm like, oh, I want to connect with them. Yeah, getting into places that are filled with inspiration. I mean, you have to like weed out the bullshit, right? It can be hard. There's a lot of virtue signaling and a lot of like status, but there's so many amazing people doing just like super inspirational things all the time. And so coming back to those places, wherever you find that.
Great. Thank you, Dmitri.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
That was easy. And I look forward, you're going to do a great job with your podcast and would love to have you on again.
Wow. Oh, thank you. That would be an honor.
Honor's all mine. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all. Ciao.